Hi, everyone. Thanks very much. I appreciate you being here. When I found out that we were going to be the last presenting company at FinDEVr, one word came to mind, and that was awesome. But seriously, no, I appreciate your being here and your time and attention. My name is Peter Shao. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Blockstack.io, and I'm joined on the stage by Lior Sar, who is the co-founder and chief product officer of Blockstack.io. Blockstack.io is a blockchain as a service. What we offer is infrastructure to enterprises like yours to build applications quickly and easily on top of your own private blockchain. And we offer hosted private blockchains so that you can get started on your applications today. Now, not a day goes by without some article in the news about a financial institution investigating blockchain technologies. But what is it, and what's it good for? Well, really simply, blockchains are a way for groups of people or institutions to share information with each other in perfect synchronicity and without the need for a third party to verify that information. Now, there have already been a few other companies that have talked about blockchains in great detail, so I'm not going to get into it, but if you'd like to learn more about how blockchains work, feel free to come and talk to us after the presentation. But the truth is, blockchain technology is really, really hard. And I've said this at Finovate in New York, that I believe that there are more men and women that have gone to space than there are developers that actually know how blockchain protocols work. And that number goes down even further if you're talking about developers that know how to build sophisticated financial applications using digital assets and smart contracts. So unless you're willing to spend the time and money to a dedicated team and build a blockchain program around them, like an Apollo space program, just so you can figure out how blockchains are going to affect your business, you're pretty much out of luck until today. So what we're going to do is show you a demo of an application that we built on a private blockchain using the Blockstack.io platform. The use case is pretty simple. We have Blue on the left, which is a corporation that wants to borrow money using a corporate note. And then we have Red on the right, which is an investor that's interested in investing in that corporate note. So what we're going to do first for Blue is create this digital asset. We're going to create a bunch of these corporate notes. We're going to have them be paid out on a quarterly basis at an interest rate of 2.3%. Now, something to note is that this digital asset is specific to this demo. But for your private blockchain, you can build any kind of digital asset. It's really up to you and your use case and your application. So as you can see, we have our asset in our balance here for Blue. And what we're going to do now is just send this asset from Blue to Red, because we don't have time to really go through how the matching is going to work between these two parties. So we're going to go ahead and send this asset from Blue to Red. And as you can see, the transaction history shows that this transaction occurred. And the two balances on both sides of this transaction occurred or updated immediately, which is really important. So this digital asset is one that pays out over time, and we don't have a year. So what we're going to do is use a feature of our development platform called Time Machine. And what Time Machine allows us to do is to fast forward in time so we can see how this digital asset pays out. And as you can see, the date is changing as we're going through time, and we should see our first coupon payment any second. And there it is. So there you see the coupon payments being paid out based on the rules that were encoded into that asset. And what's really important to also note is that these balances, this transaction history, is being updated in real time. And that's what blockchains do. They, again, allow different parties to share information in real time and in perfect synchronicity without the need for a third party to verify this information. And as you see, the digital asset has paid out, and the principal payment was paid back to the investor along with the final coupon payment. So what did we just see? We saw the creation of a digital asset. We saw the transfer of that asset from one party to another. And we saw that asset execute business rules that were encoded into it when that asset was created. So what Blockstack.io has done is taken a set of processes that could have been as complicated as an Apollo space mission and made it as simple as driving to the grocery store. Now, I think what we're going to do now is go through a little bit under the hood, like what's going on underneath that demo. So what we have are four main components: a blockchain, of course. We also have a digital asset issuer, a transaction management system, and a security framework. And all of these components are integrated together and hosted on a AWS instance for your own private blockchain. These functions are accessible through Blockstack APIs, and along with SDKs for Java and Python, you're able to build your applications that can access these APIs and on your own private blockchain. So I think it's important to see how all of these laid out, that we're taking care of the blockchain infrastructure underneath so that you can focus on what's important for you, which is the application or the prototype or the use case that you care about. Something to mention really quickly about the architecture is that we have a modular stack. So what we have here is blockchain. Our default blockchain is Bitcoin Core. But if there are other blockchains that you're interested in or prefer, we can incorporate that as well. If you like a different consensus mechanism, we can change it. If you like a different asset protocol, we can change that as well. So for those of you who are interested, we have a Bitcoin Core blockchain, and it is using it doesn't use proof of work as its consensus mechanism. It uses Tendermint's implementation of the Byzantine consensus protocol, and we're using our own implementation of colored coins for the asset issuance. So for those who care. But just to point out that we have different flavors of different technologies that we can swap in and out depending on what your needs are. And I think also what's important to note is that this API abstraction layer allows you, or allows us, to incorporate new technologies as they mature so that you're never really behind the curve on what's happening in blockchain tech. So what we just talked about before was the private sandbox. It's a place for you to experiment and try your own applications and build your own use cases. But blockchains really require you to participate with others. So once you've figured out what application you care about, you're going to want to graduate up to what we call the collaborative testbed, where you still have a private hosted blockchain, but one where you bring in your partners, your counterparties, the people you're going to transact with on this private testbed. And once you figure that out, you have your application, you have the partners you want to go to market with, then you graduate up to the production system. And this is where our model switches. The private sandbox and the collaborative testbed are hosted systems, and that's based on a SaaS model, a monthly hosted fee. And a production system is a straight enterprise software license. So we don't presume we're going to run your production blockchain system. We assume that you're going to want to run that on your own premise or with a trusted hosting provider. So you've seen a bunch of different blockchain technology companies today, and I thought it might be useful just to give a simple framework to think about which is the right blockchain provider for you, whether it's Blockstack.io or not. And I think the simple way to look at it is across two axes. One is, what's the underlying blockchain technology? And the second one is, are you going to utilize this technology in a private or public context? So the first thing is the technology. So here are a few technologies, blockchain flavors. Bitcoin, of course, you've probably heard of Ripple and Ethereum. I think all of these are equally good. And I think it really depends on the use case or the application that you're going to be building on to pick one of these underlying technologies. When we were deciding what our default blockchain technology was going to be, we opted for Bitcoin Core. And the reason is that Bitcoin is the most mature and used blockchain technology that's in existence today. And we can point to the public Bitcoin network as evidence of its robustness, of the open source developer community that supports it. There are a lot of different things going for utilizing Bitcoin Core as the underlying software. But we've made our own enhancement to it because we understand that it's not perfect and it's not useful for every single application. And I think having this as one axis to think about, what is the underlying technology and does it fit your application or use case, is an important one. The second axis to look at is whether you're going to use this technology in a private or public context. And so what do I mean by that? So for a public blockchain, what this really means is that the participants in that blockchain, the individuals or the institutions, do not have a formal or legal framework which ties them together. What they do is they trust the technology. The technology has the framework and the incentive structure to create a trusted network, even though the participants don't trust each other. So that's what Bitcoin is about, and how mining works, is that there's a digital currency that creates this framework and this incentive structure to create this trusted network. Contrast that with a private network. This is one where the participants, the individuals or institutions, do have a legal or formal relationship with each other. And the application that's built on top of the private blockchain is incentive enough to encourage the participants to participate and contribute to the network. So I think these are the two axes to think about. What's the underlying technology, and are you utilizing this in a private or public context in terms of, is there a formal or not formal relationship between the participants? And just to clarify, this is where we sit. We are here squarely in Bitcoin, but again, we will evolve the underlying technology as new technologies mature. And we sit in the private blockchain context. And then as you are meeting with different blockchain technology providers, I think you can just start to plot them on this graph and figure out which ones are right for you. All right, I'm going to end this conference and my presentation with some words of wisdom from Picasso, which I didn't think you would expect at a FinTech developer conference. So there's a book called Conversations with Picasso, written by a Hungarian artist named Brassai, and he had asked Picasso, what was the source of his inspiration for his art? And Picasso's response was, he had no idea. This was not very useful. But what he did say this, to know what you're going to draw, you have to begin drawing. And I view all of you developers or people who manage engineering and development teams, that you guys are artists. And I believe that you will create great new products and services when you get access to new tools. And I believe that Blockstack.io is the best tool set that you can use to start building blockchain applications, to start experimenting, to figure out what this stuff can do and how it's going to help you and your business. So what I ask of you today is to let Blockstack.io take care of the blockchain infrastructure so that you can get back to the business of what you're good at, which is building cutting-edge products and services for your customers. So please find us at our booth. You can also look us up online at blockstack.io or email us at info@blockstack.io. Thank you very much.